Good day and welcome back to my channel. This is the next update in the Locust Battlemech build. Now, I do apologize for the noise in the background. Unfortunately, we are dealing with a bit of a cramped schedule and laundry had to be done. So I do apologize. You will hear water running in the back. So I apologize. Again, apologies. So where are we, right? Currently have it at the ugly duckling stage where I'm starting into the distressing and the weathering and so forth. And what I wanted to do is I'm going to do this video a little bit differently than I have been. I'm going to kind of go into a little bit of the techniques that I'm using to do what I'm doing. So I mean that'll mean there's some cuts to how I'm handling what I excuse me, what I have here, and then what I'm doing to get the effects that I'm going through. So currently what you see is I have the decal markings put on, and these really are just, decals taken from old airplane kits or whatever, for danger markings, warning markings. And I think they add just a touch of the realisticness look to them, right? I'm sort of putting them in logical locations, like, danger foot. You wouldn't worry about this because you're not hanging around, up at the upper joint, but walking around, how military people do things and mark their equipment. Did put a unit marking on there, just because I thought that added a little bit extra flavor. Those are just basically decals put on with microsol and microset. Easy peasy. So now you can see I've started on the distressing, so getting the chipping wear and look onto the plates of armor. And again, the concept being that the armor has been around or the machine itself has been around for centuries. So it will have a lot of worn, chipped. It's not going to look pretty and brand new. I'm in the process of working my way up from the foot up along this leg. And I did add this one in a different color. Specifically, I'm going for that look that, hey, we've had to replace pieces, things like that. So, again, it'll tell stories. And the more I do these things, the more I find little details that I need to add. And as I do those, I'm following up. So I'm going to go into some of the techniques I'm going through. Like, so here, this panel, right? If you look at tanks, like World War II tanks, their exhausts are rusted, and they're rusted out because of the heat. The heat wears off the paint, and then the plates get weathered. My feel here is that this would be the access plate to the main nuclear reactor that drives the Battlemech. For those familiar with BattleTech, each one of these has this little mini nuclear reactor in it, and that's where their power comes from. And heat is, your main, the main governor on how much you can do. So I'm going to go in a little bit on what I'm doing and how I'm weathering that out to give that same look. I've shown the cockpit already in one of my previous videos, so that's, again, what this looks like with it a little more done up. So let's go ahead and cut to what I'm doing to do weathering. Okay, so now I'm going to go into pretty much how we're doing the distressing. And as you can see, I'm using the very, very common sponge chipping method. Yes, I do tap things onto my thumb or my hand as a sort of as a pre-palette. It's kind of like as when you wipe off paint from a dry brush. It gets some of the goopiest paint on, so you get a better effect. Now, there are many, many, many people out there who have video tutorials on how to do paint chipping with sponge, but you can see basically how this works. And all you do is concentrate the little taps where you want your chipping to be. Now you have to think about it. What makes sense? Where is this wear going to be? It's around the corners, around the edges. The other thing I'm going to do is, like right here, I'm going to focus on places where the crew will be walking. So theoretically, that hatch on both sides has a rope ladder, so the crew would climb up that rope ladder and be walking on that platform or on that edge to get to the cockpit or to get into that hatch or whatever. So all of this space would get scraped up and chipped off and so forth. And of course, in battle, you're walking through trees and knocking branches over, and you're fighting, and debris and everything's going to be hitting the panels. So your paint's just going to get beat up. It's going to get worn up. It's going to get the whole technique or the whole effect is going to get messed up. And what I'll do here is I'll take the smaller brush or the smaller chip to get into these smaller areas where the crew would be, and you'll see like right around here, right around this patch, that's where right around this hatch, I will go through and mess up the paint really around those areas. Now I do have 4 colors on my palette. You can't really tell because I've got like a whole bunch there, but I've got gray, that dark gray that I was using, this green, which is mostly a match for the main paint here. I have a silver, which I will do very little, and then a dark black, or a gray black, which I'll go back and you'll see near the end of this where I had put that on. And I just go in and do it layer by layer. And the whole point of this is, this machine's been a while, it's not going to have pretty paint. I'm simply looking at where, in the course of use, that paint's going to get messed up. There's no place on this machine where the paint is going to be pristine, except for a panel that might have been replaced just recently, like this moment. Other than that, these panels are all going to get chipped up all around the edges and so forth. So it's just being aware of where we're going to be doing that. And so I just walk through this and walk all the way around the machine. There's nowhere here that isn't going to have some kind of distressing, although some is going to be more than others. It really depends on where, right? So I keep working on the back here, and then I'll just go through and do all these different colors, layer by layer by layer. Okay? So now I get to that heat marked spot, and this is my rusting technique. Now I have sped this up, so this is going to be, you're going to see my hands move a little bit quick. Those 3 colors in the back, that dark brown, the almost black, and then the orange, basically all I do is I lay water down, and you can see the effect as I touch it with the paint. That paint sort of spreads, and it gives that really nice faded rusty look. And this is something I've done before, right? I've done this kind of technique before, and I actually do have a video on doing this specific technique. Now this panel, I gave it that metallic metal base because, again, from my perspective, the paint would have worn off. It'd be baked off from the heat. And really the whole trick here for this technique of what I'm doing is keeping that little film of water there on that panel so that every time you touch the color, it fades out and it blends itself. Now here I'm picking up a little bit of color to sort of take some of the color off, and all you do is just play with it, right? And you get in and maybe I want it darker here, maybe I want a little lighter here. Now in the orange, that orange color is really what gives it that rusty kind of look. And you just go back, like here I'm laying down a sort of a line of dark and then edge it with this orange, which gives it that layered, it gives depth to what you're doing. And so I'll put a bunch of this color down here, and once I get this first base cut covered down and let it sort of start to set, I'm going to grab a towel and I'm going to wipe a good chunk of it off. Long about just a little bit before now, or just a little bit after here, I realized I wanted to put a marking here in the middle of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish this up and give it sort of a nice layer of a color. And then I'm going to let that set for a bit, and then I'm going to do a quick wipe. And what that does is it lessens this technique, and then it will make it look a little flat. So there I wipe that off with the towel, and what I'm doing now is I'm going back and relayering it on. And by using the paper towel, it leaves that stain. Now again, it's the main reason I'm doing this now is I know that I'm going to lay a marking in over it, so I want this to have, again, the layered look, and that's what this does. So now I go in, I lay it down again, and just those little taps give it that realistic faded. You know how rust sort of fades at the edge, it's not crisp unless there's an actual break in the metal. That's kind of what this does. Go around, highlight the edges with dark, and that gives you what you need. And then this little tool, these are lip gloss brushes. They're not as fuzzy as Q-tips, and they're a little more precise, but they let you get into corners. And I really love these little tools. They're like super cheap. So now I realize I got to put the decal or the mask on, and that's all I've done is I've gone back and put on the mask, and then I go around and finish up the putting the same kind of coloring all the way around. And here I'm doing the same thing. Now I'm not, and this is a little more targeted, and I'm just coloring it up and letting that going into those edges, looking for where they are in the corners. Okay, so that is a look at some of the techniques I'm using and have been using, and I hope that is helpful, informative, useful, and you find this to be an entertaining series to follow. And I will be back next time with more information as we get further along the build. Thank you very much, and happy modeling.